Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the video. And Zani's kit has been dropped, and I want to talk about it because I did ask my community a day ago or 2 days ago about the negative status effect situation in Wuthering Waves, and with the idea that potentially when we saw Zani, that she was going to be scaling off Spectral Frazzle. Is it becoming or potentially going to become a problem for the game in the future? And would some free 4 stars, or should I say just 4 stars rather than free 4 stars, some 4-star units, 4-star resonators being added into the game be something that could potentially solve this problem? Now, I know obviously we've got the rover, we've got the Aero Erosion rover and the Spectral Frazzle rover, which can act as that, but I don't like playing as the rover, and I just think it would be nice to have some kind of like second best in slot or free to play best in slot 4-star units for some of the new units, because like as I say, we're moving into this more negative status effect meta, aren't we, as we go forward, and it's almost like the second wave of the units in Wuthering Waves. And I asked this question the other day: with negative status effects becoming a big part of Wuthering Waves, although at the moment not needed for content clearance, which, you know, is true, would you like to see more 4-star units and ones to specifically offer a free-to-play alternative for neg effect scaling team building? And a couple of people was like replying, yeah. I've had some people we talked about in some videos as well, where they saying, you know, actually, I think it would be nice to get some 4 stars anyway, but specifically for this reason. And I've had some people commenting it about in my videos as well. And I wanted to talk about it because obviously we've had Zani's kit dropped, which we can have a little look into here. But I really wanted to specifically focus on one particular thing here in a kit, which is a Forte circuit. And this section here, the heliacal ember, however you pronounce that. So this bit here is a little bit more pertinent, I guess, to this whole situation, what I'm talking about in regards to negative status effects and 4 stars being a thing that could potentially help some people who might not have premium units that would really benefit certain particular newer units. So if we look at this one here, when Zani is in a team and a nearby resonator inflicts Spectral Frazzle upon a target, immediately consume all Spectral Frazzle stacks, because a lot of her damage is based around Spectral Frazzle, and she can stack those stacks, and she can trigger the corresponding damage, then convert Spectral Frazzle into an equal number of helical embers. Every time the conversion happens, Zani obtains Blaze based on the stacks of heliacal ember inflicted. Heliacal ember is capped at 60 stacks, with each stack lasting for 6 seconds. So the ember stacks are counted towards the Spectral Frazzle stacks for the Eternal Radiant Sonata effect. So let me just specifically reference that bit there. When she's in a team and a nearby resonator inflicts Spectral Frazzle upon the target, she immediately consumes all the Spectral Frazzle stacks. So we know she's going to benefit off another team member having Spectral Frazzle. So Peebs is going to be the best alternative, more than likely, for her. And obviously, Spectral Rover as well. But there's a lot of people who just don't like using Spectral Rover. I'm one of them. I'm just not a fan of using Rover in general throughout all the attributes. I just don't find him fun to use personally. And I know there's a lot of people who feel like that as well. And I think it would be really interesting if potentially we start, because I think the game's aching for more 4 stars anyway, personally. Like, take away the negative status effect situation, I think it would be nice just to get some more 4 stars. That's one thing I was kind of hoping for the anniversary for 2.3. It was going to maybe get some 4 stars announced. Hopefully over the next couple of patches we start to see some rumblings about more 4 stars, but specifically for this reason, because I do think it would be a good not just only a good free-to-play option, but just a good option in general, a bit of extra variety for some of these units, you know? And as I say, the good thing about Wuthering Waves is you're not tied to specific units or specific teams to need to clear content. There's plenty of units that can do it from the very start of the game, right? We're not in a position here where we're talking about the units are power creeping, older units, and content is becoming unclearable, and it's just, you know, we know power creep, you know what I'm talking about, and it's ruining the game. I just think this is potentially something that maybe becomes a problem later on. And even if it's not a power creep situation, or you can't, I know some people say, well, you can just go and use other units to clear content, or you can still use this unit without that particular benefit to clear content if you're good. But I just think it's a shame, even if content's clearable, if you never get the full benefit of a new character. in a game if you manage to get a new character, but it's tied to another character to really get its maximum benefit. Now, as I say, it's totally fine for another 5-star to get more of a benefit than a 4-star. Of course, it's a gacha game. That's to be expected. But it would be nice to have something that's maybe a little bit more specifically designed for that job. So, you know, not just for Zani, but for characters that basically scale or take advantage from spectral frazzle being inflicted on enemies by other units, you know, and they can actually fill in as that particular role. So that is their job. You know, and for all the attributes and the negative status effects that we get going forward, I just think that potentially it's not a red flag, but I think it's, I wouldn't even say it's a worry, but I think it's just food for thought. And I think it's definitely something that I'm sure Kuro are thinking about. And I just think it's something that I wanted to discuss with you guys, because do you think it potentially could be a problem? Or even if it doesn't become a problem, would you just like to see that option there just for variety's sake as a different way of playing the game, but still taking advantage of those particular mechanics? Now, I know there'll be other Spectral Frazzle 5-stars that come out in the future, but again, they're 5-stars. People do have to pick and choose who they're going for in this game, whether you're a spender or not. Unless you're a whale, you are having to make choices, you know what I mean? And I know some people argue against that, but you know, if you've got other games to play and you do touch grass, you're gonna end up having to skip units, even if you're a low spender. Really, it's just the fact of the matter. Well, that in my opinion, anyway. Like I say, unless you're playing the game more regular than what I am at the moment, right? And I'd like to know what you guys think. Would you like to see more 4-stars that kind of fill in this role in regards to the negative status effects? Because this was a thing that I pointed out when the game first brought this in, you know, when Kuro were talking about this. It's really cool to see, because it was something that I was kind of asking for anyway. This sort of mechanic, it was slightly different what I was asking for, this kind of mechanic. And but my worry was that, you know, if you don't implement it properly and potentially have 4-star units to act instead of the 5-star units, that you could get yourself into a position where you do have a system of haves and have-nots. And again, as I say, I don't think we're heading towards a problem where the meta becomes super tight just yet. And if you don't have these other units to back up the negative status effects, you're not going to be clearing content. But I do think I think it's a thing that we need to look at and definitely need to be wary of. And hopefully Kuro are. It's probably something that I'm going to put in the survey, actually. I know this survey is probably going to full of a lot of people being mad at the anniversary awards. But yeah, that's going to be a thing for me. I think it's something that's going to be important to add to the game, in my opinion. And just going through Zani's kit has made me think about it again. I did record a video the other day when they dropped more information about Zani anyway, because it was kind of looking like, you know, she was going to be scaling off Spectral Frazzle, and that Peebs was going to be a really good character to use with her, and obviously Spectral Rover as well. And I was just thinking, it would be nice to have some alternatives now of 4-stars that are going to come in and do these jobs. And as I said, I know there's always going to be the people go, well, you can just use this and you can just use that. But I'm specifically talking about this particular issue at hand. And I know you're right, there is still other options, but that doesn't mean that it wouldn't be nice to have this particular thing added to the game in regards to 4-stars. And also, as I say, you know, things could change over the coming months, and it might become a little bit more of a problem, you know, in regards to, okay, it seems like we definitely do need some free-to-play alternatives now for some of these units, because they're relying more and more on negative status effects, connections between characters, that like the characters really not, like, I don't want to say a full unit without the other character, but they're missing out on a drastic amount of their potential, which I know, of course, anyway, has been a thing since the game started. You know, synergy is a thing, but with this extra layer of nuance in the negative status effect, it's just a little bit more of a focus, in my opinion. And as I say, you know, with she builds up a lot of, she does a lot of spectral damage, and then obviously she's also gonna rely on another unit. Well, not so much rely on, but she's gonna benefit massively off another unit. Dropping Spectral Frazzle on the enemies, and her taking advantage of that. And I just thought it was food for thought anyway, guys. So let me know what you think in the comment section. I'd love to know, do you want to see more 4-star units? And do you want to see more 4-star units specifically for this reason? Because I do, and I'd love to know what you guys think. And do you think it has the potential? Well, I think any gacha game has the potential to have problematic things going on in the forward, but this specifically, this for me feels like this might be one of the problems that could rear its head most likely in the future of Wuthering Waves is the negative status effect meta and new units kind of really needing other 5-star units. And it will be a big factor on how the banners drop as well, because hopefully we never get to a position where we're getting banners dropping at the same time or really close to each other, where it's like this unit is the best in slot for the negative status effect. But could have been really good with the banners anyway, so I don't think that will happen, if I'm honest. I think they're too smart for that. But hey, you never know, right? You never know. I just thought it was some food for thought, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you all in the next one. All right, guys. Ta-ra.